But yeah, what so far? What is your score prediction, or are you not ready to release that just yet?
Oh, I'm an open book. I mean, I might revise it, but no, I have kind of consistently said I think Alabama probably wins by at least a couple scores. The first score I threw out there was I think 38-17. I just the thing of it is. I have a hard time seeing Wisconsin stand up in the trenches is the problem. It's just not a typical Wisconsin defense line, and the linebackers are a little bit in flux. That being said, it's a game in Camp Randall. If Wisconsin can start off kind of early, I do think they have the ability to make it a scary game for Alabama. They do have weapons. I don't think they've played up to their potential at all. But I just haven't seen them be able to hold up in the trenches against two teams that aren't nearly as physical as Alabama and aren't able to run the ball as well as Alabama. The two-headed running back machine you guys have is terrifying to me. And you can swing them out on wheel routes, which we saw in film last year with Miller. The ability to suck those guys in and then hit him on down the sideline is terrifying. And then Milroe, when he runs, like the Badgers haven't had to face a physical mobile quarterback this year, and they've had trouble defending the run, right? So if that's another aspect they have to game plan for, I think that's the biggest word for me is just stopping Alabama from playing bully ball down the field. And I don't know if they can do it. So I have Alabama by a couple touchdowns. Certainly hoping I'm wrong, and I will run half naked down the streets of Madison if I am.
No, don't do that. You don't
Naked,
want to get arrested.
listen, I'll say this. This is a great opportunity for Wisconsin, right? You don't get chances like this that often. So who knows, right? Like that's why you play the games. On paper, Bama's more talented, but plenty of on-paper teams that have been more talented have gone on the road and lost. So I'm excited for it. I do think Bama has an advantage in the trenches, though, and ultimately that's a big deal.
What do y'all picked out there in the Pac-10? What do y'all pick to finish?
Middle of the pack right now. Yeah,
Big 10.
Yeah, Big 10.
Well, Big 18, basically.
Big 18. I mean, it's a super interesting conference where outside of a couple teams, there's a lot of flux. There's a lot of new quarterbacks. You have the 4 new West Coast teams. We have Alabama this week, obviously, but then we go to USC. So those things are going to start to shake themselves out. But most prognosticators have had Wisconsin right kind of in that middle group, right? It's that big tier of middle that nobody can quite figure out. Like, does Bama actually, or does Iowa actually have an offense this year? What does Nebraska look like? They just waxed Colorado, but we don't think Colorado's that good, probably. How is Wisconsin in year 2 of Fickle? Is Northwestern on the right track after they bounced back surprisingly last year under the new coach? Greg Schiano has done great work at Rutgers. How sustainable is that? There's a big middle glob in the Big Ten, and I don't think people really know how that's going to shake out whatsoever.
Well, and I've noticed anytime Wisconsin has had to go to Northwestern, it's always been sort of a scare for the. Yep, that head shake confirmed it right there. It's always a scare.
Terrifying.
I'm sorry I had to bring that up. It's just I'm making sure I bring my.
Yeah, it's kind of like Alabama Auburn. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes it's very rarely has anybody ever been able to pick and feel comfortable with an Alabama Auburn pick. I mean, it's just, and so I can relate to that.
I told everybody at After Dark last year, when it was the week before rivalry week, they were like, "Oh, Auburn lost to New Mexico State. Oh, they're going to get beat down by Alabama." It's like, except one thing, we're going to be going to Jordan-Hare. That's a scary place right there.
Yeah, if they get in, and if they stay close, and which they were able to do, if they keep it close, it gets louder and louder and louder and crazier and crazier. And but anyway, this year it kind of worked. It kind of worked its way out.
Well, you never know in college football. Like, that's the beauty of it, right? Like, you just never know. I mean, I used to work at ESPN, and the very first game I did, I was doing the stat tracking, was the Michigan Appalachian State game. That was the very first game I did, and they stuck me on that game because they were like, well, nothing weird is going to happen here. Go get your feet wet.
Yeah.
Like App State shocks them. Like, you never know in college football. So
the first ever Big 10 game on the Big 10 network on September 1st, 2007.
Yep. Shocked them. Got them. And that Michigan team was like 5th in the country, 4th or 5th in the country. Got a bunch of pieces back. So you never know. And that's the beauty of hosting Bama. You get them. Listen, if you're a Badger fan, you get Bama week 3. You get them at home. Right, you get them year 1 in the post-Saban era. I mean, this is the time to take the swing at Bama. And I don't think nationally, it would absolutely be an upset. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not, but nationally, if Bama can't win into Camp Randall and it's a really tight game in the fourth quarter, I don't even think anybody's going to be shocked. Like that's not going to be some shocking thing. So if you're a Badger fan, that's what you're looking for. Keep it close, right?
See what happens. Yeah.
See what happens. You probably got to win the turnover
Crazy
battle.
things happen. That's for sure. That's what I would do. Keep it close.
Yeah.
Keep it close, and then hope. Listen, we all know this. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter, balls can bounce a weird way. You get a tip ball, a blocked field goal.
Well, let me ask you this: how fast are you at your receivers? Got a lot of speed.
Next question. What else do we got?
Okay.
Well, I will say, I was going to ask you next, Johnny. What's your score prediction for Alabama, Wisconsin?
I think there's going to be some big plays. I think Alabama's going to pop a couple, but I'm not ready to say Alabama hadn't found its groove, its identity. Still, I'm not real comfortable with the defense, what we're doing on defense. Not real comfortable with who we are on offense. And it's kind of hit and miss, and there's nobody's figured it out. I don't even think. Well, I know they haven't figured it out. So I would say I think Alabama will cover the spread. I don't know about the over under 50. I think Alabama. I think speed will really help, and the big part of that speed is going to be Milroe. I think if he breaks loose a couple of times, I mean, gosh, the last few games, I mean, he's always going to pop one for could be 50, 60, 70. And I mean, that guy's, I mean, he's blazing. I mean, he is fast. So I would say Alabama's going to cover the spread, but I wouldn't go with the over under. I don't think there's going to be 50 points. I think it's going to be a lot less than that.
Well, in friend of Alabama, the Voice of College Football and the Voice of College Football, Sports Talk with Austin said Wisconsin almost lost to Western Michigan, so I'm very cautious on Wisconsin.
Playing a little rope-a-dope. That's what it is right there. Playing a little rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think you look around, and we were having this discussion. We have a Lockdown Badgers Discord, and we were talking about it. And we hit on this a little bit at the beginning, but I do think we're in an era of college football with so many transfers that a lot of teams have struggled early, right? And I think that just might be some of the new norm with college football. And
it is. You're right. Yeah, you might hit one early and lay an egg later, but yeah, it's hit or miss. I mean, you're going to see some of these teams that had the big upset turn around and get upset, and it's going to be. But yeah, I agree exactly what you said there.
And if you like top-notch Wisconsin takes, go to Locked On Badgers Discord, and you can get some of the insider knowledge on Wisconsin, especially when you're making picks.
I bet with my heart, though, don't listen to my picks. There's sharper guys in our Discord. I will always take Wisconsin to cover, so don't listen to me.
Homer.
Yeah.
That means he's a homer.
I am unabashedly.
There you go. Me too.
Oh, man. There you go. So, I mean, it's a huge win to see Alabama.
Hey, Ryan, I'm sorry to interrupt. Ryan, I was saying this. Saban's they're probably going to have, college football in Tuscaloosa next week for Georgia. I want to see what Saban. I want to see his pick.
Yes.
In Tuscaloosa at Saban Field.
That'd be awesome.
Because he keeps saying, "Well, you got to go through Georgia."
That'd be awesome. I love it.
I can't wait to see it.
I'm hoping that Bama players are looking ahead to that one.
They could be. We don't know yet.
I don't think they will be. I think they're going to be focused on Wisconsin.
Yeah, because I mean, like a lot of them are Saban guys, so it's like Saban sees them looking ahead. He's going to be mad.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be like, "Oh, right, I'm not the coach anymore. I work at College Game Day."
He's going to say, "You better not lose your butt to Georgia at Saban Field, by gosh."
Yeah.
Oh, that's what he says. And of course, I'll put that bulldog head. I think I'm going to be there and rip it off his.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. I remember in 2008 where he was yelling at the Georgia Bulldogs, said, "That dog is ugly. Give me this thing here." And he's got the elephant on. Yeah. That was a classic.
But he's been lucky this late. He picked who was it? Well, he did pick Texas. Who was it the week before he picked? No, he picked the Fighting Irish. Remember, he came out
Yeah,
with
he dressed up as an
his
Irishman. And I
leprechaun.
think,
Yep.
So
oh
he's
yeah,
been hitting it.
oh yeah. It's always fun watching them pick games for sure. I mean, it's like not too crazy about College Game Day lately, but I mean, I always want to see what Lee Corso is going to pick, like which
Yeah, it was fun
mascot.
watching him do the little whoosh with Auburn. How'd that go for you?
It's one of the iconic parts of college football the last 15 years is that show and that set and Corso.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. I hope he stays as long as he can. Bless his heart. He's been coached. I've never known football without him.
Yeah, same. It's been, yeah.
Well, and as for me, I think I'm going to go with Alabama 28, Wisconsin 20. That's going to be my final score.
I'm gonna, how much you got? How much you got in your pocket right now? I'll take that one. How much
I
you
don't
got
have
in
much.
your pocket, big boy? I'm gonna take.
I don't have
I ain't a
much at the
betting guy, but
moment.
I'll take that one. 28-20. Okay.
I think it's gonna go under 51.5. I feel like it's gonna go under that total.
Okay.
One
Okay, voice of Alabama football.
Yeah, one interesting thing to see in this game is the Badgers are really high in their secondary. So I'm gonna be curious to see how much island they're willing to play with guys like Williams. So I think you're gonna have to commit guys to the box, but they do have probably their two best defensive players. It's a corner and a safety. The entire 5 secondary guys are redshirt freshmen. I mean, redshirt seniors or seniors. It's really a really veteran group. Rico Holman, their cornerback, had 7 picks last year. Week 1, Western Michigan didn't even target him, didn't even throw him the ball. I'm curious. I think this might be the game where they get a little risky on the edges. They say, we're going to play straight man, and we're going to put an extra guy in the box because the run game is the Badgers' weakness. So I'm curious if Bama's going to, you mentioned they didn't really throw it past, throw it deep as much last week. If they didn't really push the ball quite as much, I'm curious to see if there's some shots there and if the Badgers are willing to play more man.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Alabama, Wisconsin this Saturday. I mean, I know this Saturday looks like a sloppy slate for some people, but honestly, just because it's a sloppy slate does not mean upsets won't be coming. Like on Game of Thrones, where winter's coming, well, upsets are coming.
There's never
who do you follow Alabama with? Who's after Alabama? Remind me.
We have a bye and then we go to USC.
Okay. Well, that's good for you.
Yeah. So theoretically, again, like if you were to game this out, if Wisconsin is able to spring an upset, again, just go with me here for a second. Then you get a bye, and then you get a go. I mean, Wisconsin heading to USC could end up being a tremendous game if Wisconsin is able to somehow kind of spring this upset here. So there's a lot riding on this for Wisconsin as well.